I had that dream again. My small business needs to hire, but I don't use LinkedIn, and I hire wrong. So our orders get all backed up. We're drowning in paperwork, then actually drowning. Carol is fighting off sharks with a stapler, and pirates are pillaging the office copier, and then I wake up.
Don't let hiring nightmares ruin your dreams. LinkedIn Jobs' new AI assistant goes beyond the resume, using unique insights to deliver a smarter shortlist. Post your job for free at linkedin.com/quality. Start hiring today with LinkedIn.
Welcome to Supernatural Circumstances, the podcast where we take you down the rabbit hole into the fantastic world of the strange, the paranormal, and the unknown. I'm Morgan Knudsen. Come along with me on this week's adventure. So this week, as you know, in January here, we've been delving into eyewitness testimony. Not just cases, but talking with people who have witnessed, experienced, seen some incredible things. And today is going to be no different. Now, I'm about to introduce you to two people who I hit it off with immediately. Doyle Holmes and Joseph Johnson. Now, what's interesting about these two researchers specifically is that they live, or Doyle lives, on the property where the Fouke Monster, something that many of you are familiar with from the cult movie The Legend of Boggy Creek, actually is said to exist. And not only has he lived there in harmony with these creatures, but him and Joseph and another investigator have been uncovering facts about these things and discoveries, including a discovery in language you guys are going to be blown away by, that I believe could change the face of how we look at Sasquatch, how we look at the Fouke Monster legend in Arkansas, and perhaps change the way we view our history in general. I'm not going to delay any further. Please buckle in, because this conversation was something I will never forget, and I don't think you guys will any too soon either. Let's go.
Get your snack on for less with wowza deals at Food Basics. Find select varieties of Dare cookies or crackers for just $1.98 each. Shop in-store and online until January 21st. Food Basics, always more for less.
Okay, well, I am so excited to start into this conversation because you guys are two people that I've been looking forward now to talking to for a while. And this is a topic we have not yet covered on Supernatural Circumstances, which I think is wild because it should have happened. So, Joe, Doyle, thank you guys so much for doing this today.
Absolutely. You're welcome.
Yeah, this is such a fascinating case and a fascinating story, and Joe, I'm going to start with you, and then Doyle, I'm going to talk with you in a second. Joe, can you explain to people what the heck is the Fouke Monster?
The Fouke Monster is a bipedal hominid type creature, covered in fur, big beak, has been known to be aggressive at times. So you're seeing basically the typical Sasquatch type encounters in southwest Arkansas and Fouke. The only difference is the Fouke Monster's not as big. It's I think anywhere from 7 to maybe 8 foot, whereas the Pacific Northwest Bigfoot has been noted at being 8.5, 10 foot tall. So it's a smaller cousin, so to speak.
Yeah. That's really interesting. There's so many different descriptions all over the world of beings that are like this. And how far back do these encounters go in Fouke?
The documentation really started, I think, in the early 1900s around the Fouke area. It does go back further. There are stories all the way back into the mid to early 1800s, and even before Arkansas became a state. The Of course, the documentation on those is just a lot of family told stories and everything else. But there are some newspaper accounts in some of the older papers in the country. In the South, the hairy man seen in the South, or something like that. Those type of stories. But a majority of the main uh, historical newspaper documented accounts are from the early 1900s.
Wow. So, Doyle, how does a town like Fouke accept something like this? Because I know, like here in Alberta, we've got a lot of small towns and whatnot, and it's not something I know for a fact in Alberta it would not be something that would be widely talked about or accepted. But Fouke has got people that you can talk with about this, from my understanding. Like, how does the town, how does it look at this?
Well, it's a well-known thing. It's been accepted here since before most of us were born. Just kind of passed down the stories. So everybody's kind of familiar with it. If they've lived here all their life, they are. Some people move in and they might have a hard time accepting it, but yeah, there's plenty of people to talk to in the area. There's so many people that's had sightings experiences, and you get a group of people together, you may not know them, but everybody's got a story. Everybody starts talking about, well, my grandfather said this, or my uncle, my so and so, my friend saw it cross the road, or something like that. So it's readily accepted.
That's amazing to me because, as I say, I mean, I live in Alberta, and I mean, Canada just in general. A lot of the time, these types of things aren't talked about in that way, and like
Mhm.
having that community of people. I mean, that's to me that's really incredible. And I want to talk to you as we'll start out with your experiences, because you've had some remarkable things going on. What was the first time that you had an encounter or an experience with the Fouke Monster?
Well, like most people that move into the area, and I moved in the area about 25 years ago, I was a skeptic. I heard about it all my life living outside of Texarkana, but I
Sure.
kind of thought it was a made up deal, and to maybe sell movie tickets or whatever, to bring people into the area. I didn't really believe it. But one morning I was fishing about 2004, and I heard some splashing in the lake. I looked over and saw something walking around in the marsh. And the more I looked at it, as the sun was coming up, I could see that it had two legs. I could see that it was a male. I could see the girth on that thing, how powerful it was, and actually the experience lasted at least 30 minutes because I was kind of drifting along in the boat, and he could see me, but he didn't care. But that was the first experience that I had, and there's been several or many since.
That's incredible, and it's incredible that it lasted as long as it did. I
Yes.
think most people, when they think about these types of encounters, it's fleeting. Like, you see something in the brush, or it wants
Mhm.
to move away. Like, it's surprising that it was
Yeah.
so confident to stand there and be okay with you there. I think that's amazing.
I think he could tell I meant him no harm, that I wasn't a threat to him. If anything, he was far more of a threat to me, and he knew it.
Yeah.
But where I was
Yeah.
at, drifting in the lake, it would have been hard for me to get to him. There was a barrier of small cypress trees growing on the side of the lake, and it would have made it difficult for me to get to him. I could see through them
Yeah.
and see him moving around, but I couldn't have got to him. And so, not that I wanted to get to him, he would have easily broke me in half. But he was um, he was just awesome, and the experience was awesome. I've had several since then, but nothing lasted that long. It was awesome. It was my first experience that it was so long, I got to watch him. He was doing some of the same stuff over and over again, kicking in the water like he was trying to find things underwater to I mean, he's foraging, looking for mussels or something
Yeah.
like that. But he was just busy doing his thing, and he thought I was busy doing my thing, which at that time was watching him do his thing. So
Right.
so it was pretty cool. After a while, he just turned around and wandered off into the marsh.
It's just
So
remarkable. I mean, I would never forget. I've never had the privilege of seeing a Sasquatch, but I have had the privilege of seeing Dogman, and
oh
I do understand, like, there is nothing like it, and consider it 100% blessing to have had the encounters, because it's just it's so life changing. You've talked, Doyle, about other encounters that you've had, including one that you had with your son on Thanksgiving evening. Do you want to tell everybody about that as well? Because that's just is incredible.
well, it wasn't so much of an encounter. Um, that one with my son, if I'm recalling correctly, we had gone down in the woods hog hunting, and we come up on the side of the lake and saw that the lake was cloudy. And I looked into the water and saw footprints. And going through the clear water, you could actually see the footprints in the water, but can't cast them in the water. But I looked on land, and it was, Thanksgiving. The area was covered in leaves, and so it was hard to find a good impression in the soil. Plus, if you've ever been around the cypress marsh, you can see that there's actually roots just that go out everywhere. So it's hard to find a place where you get good prints. But I followed the trail that I could see impressions in the leaves, and found one that was actually good to cast. So not ready for this kind of thing. I went and got some plaster and came back the next day. As the lake was rising, I managed to get this cast, but it was kind of spooky at the time when we first found them, because you could tell this thing had just walked by. And my son was young at the
Wow.
time. He's a big army guy now, and I'd be hiding behind him if something like this happened. But but at the time, I wanted to get him out of there because I didn't know what was going to pop out of the bushes at us. But we managed to make a really good impression. It was our first one, and it actually
Wow.
kind of got famous at the time. Uh,
Yeah, I mean, it's awesome that you went back to get it, because I think that's one of
yeah.
the things that so many people miss out on doing is thinking further ahead when it comes to, okay, what does this encounter mean? Not only to me, but to the people that are going to be hearing
Oh
about
yeah.
it and listening to it. And it becomes now not just a story. It becomes something
Mm.
that's tangible for people. Joe, I mean, you've known Doyle a long time. How did you guys end up connecting?
Well, we knew each other in high school. I was more close to his since passed twin brother Daryl, but I did know Doyle. Doyle knew me. After Facebook came up and everything got really big, I found Doyle's profile on there, and so I added him as a friend, and we just started reconnecting and everything. And he was telling me about he just recorded. I think at that time it was Monster Quest, I think, and about his experiences. And I was like, really, that's awesome. I said, I'm in the paranormal. I've been doing the paranormal since I was in high school and everything. And he's like, man, you need to come down. And I'll tell you some of my stories sometime. So my father and stepmother and one sister and her family still live in Texarkana. So when I was down visiting with them, I started to go down to Doyle's and hanging out, talking and everything, catching back up. And some of these stories just got so ingrained into me, just lit a fire under me that wanted to check it out even more. I mean, I mean, how can you be told
Sure.
that there's a proof of Santa Claus and not want to go check it out, so to speak. I mean, comparing Sasquatch
Absolutely.
to Sasquatch and the fact that most people believe it's a myth, So at any rate,
Joe's become very
I talked.
important.
Well,
Go
I
ahead. I
appreciate it.
didn't mean to talk over you.
Oh, you're fine. You lit that fire, brother. But at any rate, he and I got to talking about some game cams. I needed to. He said, I know the perfect spots to put out some game cams. Just, have you got any? I was like, no. I said, but I'll get some, and as soon as they come in, I'll come down and put them out. So I did. I ordered 2 static game cams that were cellular based, so I can monitor them on my phone. And put one up on the north side of this property and one towards the south side of this. About I guess it was March of 2024. It was just before the Bigfoot conference, the Fouke Monster conference that I was speaking about earlier while we were waiting, where I got to know Lyle, Blackburn, and everything. So, but I'd gotten a notification and got a picture on the game cam of what appears to be an arm in the lower part of the palm, like it was reaching up to check out what it was, or reaching up
Right.
past it. And then, anyway, the picture was taken. So I had that downloaded on my phone. Of course, Doyle and I were real excited about that, finding that. At that same time, I had some friends come from North Carolina and to go to the Fouke Monster conference. And they've been involved in the paranormal for quite a while too. Her name is Raina Carroll and Nadine Najux. So they came all the way from North Carolina just to check out the Doyle's property and go to the Fouke Monster Festival. While we're out there, I actually find a impression. It wasn't a good enough print to cast, but an impression of a left foot near where that camera was. So that got me all super excited all over again. Okay, I'm finding some evidence. I'm doing all right. So we walked along. About a year later, almost to the day, I get a notification on my phone. Some images have been snapped on the static camera on the north side. I pull it up and look, and you can see about 45, 50 yards away from the camera, which on those cameras, they're so fish-eyed, it makes it look closer than it really is.
Right.
The perfect silhouette of the Sasquatch standing next to a tree.
Wow.
I'm absolutely astounded. So I send that picture to Doyle. He's like, man, yeah, we finally got a good image of it. You're going to have to come down and check it out. And I'm like, well, I'm planning on coming down this weekend to check it out. That was on a Wednesday. Thursday morning, almost at the same time, I get another notification. So I'm looking at the pictures and I see almost straight forward, dead center of the camera, about 65, 70 yards, the backside of this animal or creature or person, or however you want to describe it, hominid, I guess would be the best way to put it,
Sure.
walking away into some trees. I mean, you can see the neck, the broad shoulders, the muscles in his back, the arm, the whole bit. So about the time I'm looking at this, I'm like, oh my God, I'm just all excited. Get a message from Doyle on Messenger. He's like, hey man, you're never going to believe what I saw this morning. I was like, let me guess, about 8:15ish or so, over near the north side camera. He's like, yeah. I sent him the picture. He says to me back, dang it, man, you got him again. I was like, yep, we got him again. So I came down that weekend. That was on a Thursday morning. I came down that Friday evening, and we took I made a homemade audio trap in a weatherproof box, took it out, set it up, and started recording about midway between the northern and southern camera in the area he calls the clearing or the meadow. So I found a tree stump that was kind of rotted out, was able to put that audio recorder in that and cover it with some leaves and pine needles and stuff to kind of disguise it even more. We let that run right at 24 hours. So I came back the next Saturday and retrieved it, brought it home, back up here to northwest Arkansas where I live, and started listening to the audio. The first couple hours before it got dark, was just your typical sounds, birds, wind, that type of stuff.
Sure,
About
yeah.
about 6 hours in total, which would have been about 4 hours after dark. So I start hearing some of the audio that just really blew my mind. I hear these mumblings, chatter back and forth. I hear tree knocks. I hear these, for lack of a better term, howl, scream, growls. I mean, it was like a combination of all three.
Yeah.
And so I ended up calling Doyle and saying, "Hey, listen to this," So I played it for him. But before I called him, I'm sitting here reviewing this in my home studio, and I've got it turned up fairly loud because I want to make sure that that's what I think I'm hearing is what I'm hearing. Now, at the
Right. Yeah,
time,
you don't want to make a mistake in terms of identification at that point.
exactly. So at that time, my mom was staying with me. She stayed with me for about a year and a half. But her room was butted up against my studio room, and I'm playing that scream, howl, growl over and over again, just making sure that I'm hearing what I'm hearing. And my door opens. She goes, and she's looking at me with this serious look on her face. And she said, "What are you listening to?" I said, "My audio I got down from Doyle's place." She came in and she shut the door. She said, "Do you remember at your graduation when I stayed at Katrina and her family's place?" Which Katrina was my high school sweetheart. She lived in Fouke. She said, "Do you remember?" And I was like, "Yeah, I absolutely remember." She said, "Do you remember me and Grandma telling you about the sound we heard in the woods behind, near her house?" And I was like, "Yeah." She goes, "That was it. You got exactly what we heard that night." And I was, 19 years old in 1987, and she's hearing the same thing in 2025 that
Yeah.
she heard in 1987. So that was validation for me at that. So
yeah, that's
yeah,
wow.
100% validation. So, of course, I sent Doyle all the audio that I've gathered, and he's got all the photos as well. So, that's one thing about it. And ever since then, this thing has started snowballing. I mean, I'm getting requests for podcasts such as yours almost weekly, and it's getting to the point now that we've got another friend named Dave Rogers, aka Sasquatch. You can find him on YouTube and Facebook and all that. He is actually a pastor. Doesn't look like a pastor. He's got the long braided beard and the tattoos.
Looks like
Wears
Rambo. Yeah.
yeah, built like Rambo. He's got the do rag, the whole bit. But he's a pastor, and he's come down. And so we was a single person experiencing this thing became a duo when I got involved. Now we're a trio. So there's going to be a lot of exciting things going on in the future down there. And a lot of it, he has gotten some amazing evidence. Dave has. He's the type of person that likes to go out by himself, walk through the woods, the swamps, wherever, really quietly by himself, and set out audio traps and cameras, and he's got cameras on him, one base facing behind, one facing front. I mean, he's really into this, using this technology to do these investigations, and he's caught some amazing evidence out in the deep swamps. I mean, he goes out there.
Yeah, I believe it. I believe it. I
So.
mean, we've like even here in Alberta, we've had the best luck with cryptids and things like that, just being out by yourself or just being quiet. Just going out and being present with what's going on, rather than everybody dragging out cameras and dragging out this, that, and the other thing, and they're going out and making a big hoopla. Is that we've had great experiences just being able to go out and just be present with things. And Doyle, with everything that's going on your property, when did you start noticing that this was actually happening on your land? Was this like something that you came into, or did you know about it before you got there?
Well, there was rumors when I got here. There was an old Indian man that lived across the woods from me. Supposedly had a group of them uh, come to his house, and he had named them a father, a mother, and a couple of kids, and he had named all of them. And I always wanted to go see this guy, but he was a recluse, lived back there with the gates locked, and eventually died before I was able to talk to him. But we had that going on, but we would have um, we would have situations where would burn trash or burn brush or whatever on the property, and then all of a sudden you'd hear wood knocks, like somebody beating a
Mm,
tree with a hammer or stuff like that. We're like, "Wow, what is doing there? Who is on the property?" Um, Over the years, we had animals killed, strange ways, horses killed and drug off, and
wow.
yeah, it's difficult to for any even a bear to drag off a 700-pound horse. But
Absolutely.
we and chickens that would be just the whole house of chickens would be slaughtered overnight. Walls tore down, roofs tore off, stuff like that. Something that you wouldn't see a normal animal do. So we
For
started
sure.
putting two and two together. Well, we got wild hogs in the area, and I started baiting the hogs up close to the house so I could take one every now and then. Well, one night as I was taking some old beans down the hill to drop them off, something rose up on the side of the trail and screamed at me. It was only like 8 or 10 feet away. So the scream like to shattered my eardrums. It also like stopped my heart. If you've ever been screamed at closely by one of them, they have a vibration to them, and it just, I dropped the beans and turned around,
Yeah.
took off running. As I was headed up the hill, I looked back, and it was a female, and she was holding a baby in her arms. And I had
Oh,
walked up
yeah.
on them, and I guess they were there getting the scraps I was putting out. But that was the first one that I seen on the property. But that will really open your eyes, and I don't believe I walked out of my yard for a month after that situation. Because
I can't imagine.
yeah, that was a very unnerving situation, because I never saw her. I walked up on, she was so bedded
Yeah.
down in the grass next to me, she just looked like a part of the landscape. But since then, we have seen pictures. The Google Map car has taken pictures, and I believe of the very one that I seen. And they just drove
Really?
by. Yeah, drove by one day, so it's independent, of us. Um, and saw her in a berry patch, the blackberry patch, just right by my property line, picking berries. And she had a couple of
Wow.
young ones with her. But it's exciting. I've seen multiple other individuals through the years. It's so neat that I could give Joe a call and say, "Hey, I just saw one cross this field right here," and he's like, "Oh, you mean about 15 minutes earlier?" Like I got it on camera, and I'm like, "Oh wow, that's it right there." But you get over the years, you get to understand their movements, how they
Yeah.
move, their
Yeah.
their mannerisms, what they do, what they do in the woods. As far as covering trails and bending over trees and blocking views. Where they can move, without being seen. Well, you notice what time of year it is, what time of day, stuff like that. I think that helps us now be able to kind of predict where they're going to be at a certain time. But like Dave, I mean, like Joe pointed on, me and Dave was out the other day in the swamp, and we heard ducks come down, and this is so cool. These, it's like something attacked the ducks where we couldn't see them, and you could hear the ducks actually be captured. Well, about that time,
Whoa.
one of them yelled out, not a duck, but what captured the ducks yelled out. And to my ears, it sounded like uh, a cataho, a takato. And I'm like, what is that? It just burned into my mind. It said Takako, Takako, woo! But it was a joyous sound, like they were
Really?
excited, like yeah. And
Yeah.
I've heard like languages spoken in the woods before, not knew what it was, but I'm like that sounds like a Native American word. So I know we kicked it around one night that they were actually speaking Native American languages, depending on where they were. Well, me and
Right.
Joe got to researching this and looking it up and found a word called a kata article or something like that. Without looking at it, uh, kata takako, and it meant we are the chiefs. Well, we further researched
Wow.
this, and it went back to the Caddo Indians that actually lived. It pertained to a Caddo Indian tribe that lived in the area and were centered. That their main village was right there where we were at. So these creatures had learned that language and retain it over hundreds of years because they've been gone. That language is dead, but they still have it, in their. And I guess when they capture food or something to get excited, they yell, uh, kind of like we would, like we the kings or we the chiefs, yeah,
Sure.
we're the man, and they yell that
Yeah.
out and in excitement. But that's what it sounded like. Was it with excitement? But the really cool thing is we had just put out sound traps. So we had Dave has to go through hours and hours of sound to find it, but I believe it's captured, and we may have it come up pretty as soon as he could find it. But
That's
it just
remarkable.
yeah, it just adds more evidence. Something down there speaking ancient Caddo, and it's ancient Caddo
Yeah.
from a tribe that lived right there in that spot. So I don't think there's any Caddo Indians left down there, but it was very cool because it didn't just speak the language; it spoke the language with a Native American accent. But
And
and
with
then it
purpose.
with purpose, and
Yeah.
the yell was so loud. I don't think a regular person could have made that yell, but the language was so clear. The words were so
It's
clear.
It's remarkable. Like, as you're talking, I'm getting goosebumps right now because
Yeah.
there's always been a tie here as well between like the Sasquatch, the Dogmen, and the First Nations
Yeah.
people here in
Uh-huh.
Alberta. And the reason why I'm getting goosebumps is because I have a very similar story to what you guys are describing with Bigfoot, but I've got it with the Dogmen and with
Oh.
a pack that hangs out in around central Alberta. And same thing, Doyle, that you're talking about, where you get to know mannerisms, you get to know who they are individually, you get to identify all of those things. And
Mhm.
here in Canada, they've always had there's a history that goes back with them where they actually had a trading relationship for a very long time with the First Nations people before colonization. And it always kind of makes me laugh when you see people that are, they're going out, confronting them with the Bible and this, that, and the other thing, and then the dogman will turn around and walk away, and it's like, well, yeah, because they don't have a very good association with that.
Yes.
And some of my good friends who are First Nations as well, when we go out, we bring sweetgrass and sage, and we say thank you, and we do an offering, and we go out and we keep to those traditions because we knew that that's probably what they were familiar with. And ever since doing that, we've had incredible close encounters with them. And they've been gentle and wonderful and wild, but they've been just these incredible encounters and very willing to have that interaction. And
Oh, wow.
it just
That's
gives
cool.
it gives me and it gives me goosebumps to hear you talking about the language, because I start to wonder if they also have picked up a native language here. And like
Yeah.
we get a lot of barks and sort of huffs and growls and things like I've never heard a word or what I thought was a word from them. But it now all my brain's just going a million miles an hour, because I'm going, oh my God, what if, there's a
Yeah,
there is
I
a language
bet.
that we can exchange. Yeah.
I bet. And now that I know, or we know what they know, the language that they understand,
Sure.
I can't wait to get off in the swamp down there and start yelling, kata taka ho. And maybe that will bring them in, because that's my main
Yeah.
goal, is to make actual
Yeah.
contact, to let them know that I'm no threat to them,
Yeah.
because
Yeah.
they are, especially the younger ones that I've encountered, the females and the younger ones are so scared. They
Yeah.
they believe you're
Yeah.
going to kill them, and
Yeah.
they just sit there. They'll scream, they'll cry. Um,
Oh.
but the males, the bigger males, they're not as concerned, But I want to make that contact, and I
Yeah.
think that would be so
I know I've
cool.
had really, really good luck with just coming. It would. I've had really good luck with it, with being able to go to their space with, and oftentimes we have nothing with us. Like we keep it very
Yeah.
neutral, and even the photos that we've caught over the years have been sort of sneaky photos. Like you can't
Mhm.
pick a camera up and take a picture. It's got to be very
Oh,
you gotta be very devious
yeah,
about it.
yeah.
But I'm sure you guys know, and it's been interesting to see the tone of voice has played a big role for me. Just the first time we ended up relatively close to one, or the big alpha male looked like he wanted to approach the group, but like what you guys are describing, very shy, very careful.
Mhm.
I mean, they haven't had good experiences in the past. I mean, that's blatant based on their body language.
Oh,
And it's funny. I started talking to him the same way that I've got a little snake at home, and he's like my baby. And I
mhm,
started talking to him in this just very soft voice and saying, thank you so much for coming, and thank you for being here. And that made him comfortable enough to walk forwards.
mhm,
And
mhm.
the encounter for me ended up being disrupted because there was a dog in another lot that started barking, and
Right.
that did it. They were just like, "No, we're gone. We're done." And they bolted. But they were just like, Dog's too much. Like, can't do this." And they left. But it was my tone of voice. It was my presence, and just sort of just being there that made such a difference. Have you guys had similar encounters like that?
Well,
Doyle,
I have spoken to them. Yeah, I had I have like this. I cornered a little child, a adolescent. I say adolescent. He might have been pre-adolescent, but I cornered one in the side of the lake, and funny thing, I had a baby fixing to be born. My wife was 9 months pregnant. She was having contractions every 3 minutes. She was back at the house, and I was cutting firewood, and I'm like, you know, I'm not going to be the only one that sees this thing. So I went back and got my wife, and I took her down there, and here she was. And by that time, the thing had moved out of towards the swamp through the brush. Well, I had my canoe with me, and I'm like, I'm gonna herd this thing back. I'm gonna get behind it, herd it back, and it's gonna come across this trail, and you're gonna see it. Well, he was crying. He was left there alone. I guess mom and dad was out hunting,
Oh.
but he was hiding behind trees. You could see him. You know, even at his small stature, I wouldn't want him to get a hold of me with those big hands. He had these huge hands and knuckles, bony knuckles, and he was looking at me from behind these trees. But I talked to him. I'm like, "Oh, come on over here. I got a peanut butter and jelly sandwich for you. Just come over here. You'll be okay. I just want to talk." I mean, I was as gentle as I could be, but it it never softened him. He was scared to death. Finally, he got around
Oh,
me and swam across the lake. And I tried to meet him on the mound, what we call the mound, but he started heading off. By that time, it was getting dark, and I heard mom and dad coming. They were yelling. They were angry. And
yeah,
so I'm
time to
like,
go.
I'm going to go
Yeah.
check. Yeah. I
Yeah.
started worrying about my wife. Yeah. So I got in the boat and I
Yeah.
headed back to where my wife was. I looked in the truck and it wasn't nobody there that I could see. So I jumped out in the water and run up to where the truck was. I'm like, "Where'd she go?" And I started to open the door and it was locked. And about that time, I looked down there and she was sprawled out in the floorboard. How this big 9-month pregnant woman squeezed herself into the floorboard of the truck, I don't know, but she started hearing
Oh,
mom
poor
and
lady.
dad coming, and it scared her to death. I felt bad about that.
Yeah.
But we had a son the next morning at about
After that,
7,
I
8
would
o'clock.
imagine you probably did. Yeah.
Yeah, started out.
Scared the kid out of
Imagine
you.
I could just said push, and she'd have had it right there. But but yeah, it's hard. I mean, they probably tell each other, they probably tell their kids sort of like we do. Be careful.
Yeah.
But humans just want to, they just want to kill you, show your bodies off or something. And and up to now, that's pretty much what we've done. I've looked back through photos and history as long as we've been here, humans have been here, they've been killing them. So
Yeah.
imagine they're scared to death of us. It's going to take time to actually get them to where they trust us. But
Yeah. So there is, so
that's the
you've
goal.
actually found a history of that, I guess, then, hey? Where
Yeah,
like
yeah,
you've found history of interactions with these things, because like you say, I mean, there must be a like stories that are getting passed down, which is speaks to the level of intelligence that
right.
these beings actually have, is that they're not only aware, but they're passing these stories down to others. Because I mean, if I think the Legend of Boggy Creek, when the movie came out, people got the impression there's this one being that's there, and that's just not true. There's, I mean, obviously
That's
there's
true.
families,
Yeah.
there's groups, and whatnot, and they're passing down these stories. So what do you think is what do you think is going to be, or could there be a game changer in making a new relationship with these beings? Do you think that's, I mean, obviously you think that's possible.
Oh yeah,
Well,
yeah.
yeah,
I
at
think
some
that's
point,
possible.
yeah, yeah, at some point they did. I mean, the Native Americans did.
Yeah.
You know, they had treaties with them, trading, and and you know, we had a trading post down here a couple of 100 years ago. So um, y- Native Americans would come from all over the place, different types, and they would meet on the river trading posts and trade pelts and whatever. So I imagine they were around then. The Squatches, and they got to meet a bunch of them. But my grandmother is half Choctaw. My great grandfather was full blood Choctaw, and to them, the thing existed. It wasn't even a question. Why you even
Yeah.
why you even speculate if it exists? To them, it was real. It was part of their lives. It's only been uh, modern culture really that has tried to scrub this from us and tried to make it
Yeah.
out like it's a fairy tale. Uh,
Yeah.
And
Well,
I
that
think
that
that's
leads me into
terrible. Yeah.
yeah, that leads me into another a total different rabbit hole of conspiracy theories. But as far as the modern take on the Sasquatch goes, A lot of people are
Yeah.
saying the government's involved and all the governments of the world, so that's a whole different story.
Yeah.
But getting back to what you said, Morgan, it was really interesting to me when you talked about the dog man heard the dog bark and that's when they bolted. There's a reason for that,
Yeah.
and I'm sure Doyle can attest to why. Is a lot of even back in it's not so much anymore. It still happens, but back in the uh, 50s, 60s, early 70s, and further back, people used dogs for hunting. They would take the
Yeah.
dogs out to track their prey. So the dog bark has become associated with these beings as meaning there's men with guns coming. We got to go.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
and so that's why that really stuck out to me when you said that. And I think we find the same thing is true down in the our area is because there's a lot of people that still use dogs for hunting raccoons and some use them for deer. So that is an association that when a dog barks or a dog is means danger's near. So
Yeah.
our goal is to, and I think this is the same goal that Dave shares as well. I can't speak 100% for him, but I think I know him well enough to know is we want to protect these creatures. We want to make sure that
100%.
they have their habitat, that they're protected. Nobody's going to kill them. Nobody's going to hurt them. And I think that one key to that would be is building a relationship with them. And I think that's one of the reasons why we go in. I mean, obviously, there's at least one person in the party that has a firearm, simply because there are dangers out there. There are other dangerous animals
100%. Absolutely.
that can hurt us. So we are, at least one person in the party has protection. However, we approach it with, instead of being aggressive or doing, tree knocks and howls and hoops and stuff to draw them in. We go out there and we just, we make our presence known. We speak. It's a hushed tone, but it's not like we're out there hooping and hollering and yelling. Because who's to say that those hoops and tree knocks that people report so often aren't them communicating with each other to say, hey, that danger's out here, and then when they hear us doing the same thing, they're thinking, yeah, these people are trying to get us in for some reason other than to say hi. So
Yeah.
we go out there with a total different perspective and action than everybody else does because we simply want to have that face to face to where we can go, hey guys, we want to make peace. We're here. We want to learn about you. Just as curious, they are curious about us as well because what was it, 2 weekends ago, Doyle, that we were out there and Dave had gotten about 4 or 5 of us out there. We were at camp, and Richard Taylor, who's a pretty well-known Bigfoot researcher out of Texas, was there, and he had his thermal, and he noticed a heat signature about 30, 40 yards away from the camp, just in the foliage line. So he broke out his IR, which is a high 4K IR. You can really see on that thing. And he watched this thing peeking out from behind the tree that it was behind, and in that foliage, and he was watching us. I mean, he was curious as to what are these old guys doing out here sitting around a fire. I want to see what's going on. So he watched us, and again, that's the same weekend that Dave got his really good video that he got. So I think it's, of course, it was thermal or INR out in the middle of the swamp these days. And of course, I'm not going to say anything more than that because I agreed to keep it under wraps. But I mean, it's nice, it's good, and so once he releases that stuff, a lot of people are going to be very, very impressed. So it's one of those deals.
It's really it's so exciting to know that you guys are getting things so frequently. I mean, and I think that's something that's so significant about what you guys have going on is the fact that you've got a routine now in place, and they seem to be, at least from what you're saying and from what I would assume is that I think that trust is beginning to build, because I
Yeah.
don't think that they would be around as much as they are if they thought, okay, this is a bad deal. Do you get the feeling that eh, they are warming up? Like, I say warming up because, like, they're, I mean, obviously still wild and still extremely cautious, but I mean, the frequency in which you're seeing them, to me, I would take as, okay, this is some progress. Doyle, what do you think about that?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. Forever when I moved here, it was like every 5 years. I would see
Yeah.
something, I'd see another one every 5 years later. Now it's like it's all the time. I mean, that's not all the time that I see them, but like Dave gets his videos of them. We're just you just know where they're at now, and
Yeah.
really with the encroachment of humanity into the area, that they're losing habitat, so they're sandwiched down. We have like 90,000 acre lake down here, and it's not just a lake; it's swamp, it's hills. So they can
Sure.
go down there, and there's not many people that can get down there.
Yeah.
It's pretty isolated area, fed by the Sulphur River, and it's just hard to get down there with a regular boat, or you need
Yeah.
specialized, like equipment stuff. But yeah, we're getting to where we know where they're at, where they're gonna be at certain times of year, like they'll venture away from the lake, like now. It's wintertime, so there's no foliage on the trees, so you can see down in the woods. They're not going to expose themselves in these areas like they
Yeah.
would, you know, in the spring, where they'll come up when the trees are blooming, the leaves are out. They'll come closer, and you could actually hear them talk at that point, because they'll actually, instead of bringing just one individual coming through, they'll have their whole family units come through at that time. But it is just so exciting what's going on now, and what's in the future coming up. You know, I
Yeah.
I've had a theory that they like girls, like you, Morgan. If you was to stand out
Mhm.
there, sit out there overnight, you might attract a bunch of 'em by the way you talk,
Hey,
and
I'd be willing to try. I'd be willing to try. I'm just putting it out there.
we'd love to have you down. We even, I
Oh,
mean,
I'd love to be
not
there. It'd be
comparing you to
fantastic.
a yeah, not comparing you to a love doll, but we even thought about getting a couple of female, really pretty, these new lifelike love dolls, and sticking them down there and playing
Yeah,
playing girly talk and stuff, and putting
that'd be
cameras up and see
interesting.
what happens. Oh yeah,
Yeah.
I would love to see what happens. I think that would work, but I know meat brings them up, because I've had smoked meat stolen uh, multiple times from my smokers. So there's just ways you can attract them, and I'm excited to start these experiments and see what we can do to get them up,
Oh, yeah.
and it would be awesome.
I'm excited for
That
you guys. I like it's so refreshing to hear your approach and to see how you guys are coordinating this, because I think there's so many people that are out there that are still back at, we just got to capture evidence, or we've just got to we just got to get that one photograph and blah blah blah, and it's like it just, to me, I think, dehumanizes the experience of what
Yeah.
the level of special nature that these beings really are. And
Mhm.
like I say,
Yeah.
I get really frustrated with a lot of the Dogman stories and whatever that are out there, where you see the recreations and they're ugly and drooling and they look like gargoyles and
Oh.
whatnot.
Mhm.
And I'll tell you, like, the first time that I was able to see our alpha male, we nicknamed him Snoopy because he used to sit on the roof of the acreage that
Mhm.
he would frequent, and they would see him sitting up on the
Oh,
roof, just
yeah.
sitting. Yeah, and he would just be laying there, he'd just be just hanging out or whatever, and then he'd see somebody and he'd kind of growl and then he'd be gone. But so we nicknamed him Snoopy because he would lay on the roof. So he but the first time that I saw his face relatively clearly, the first thing that struck me was how beautiful he was. It was like the most gorgeous looking timber wolf that you've ever laid eyes on. Just this beautiful fur, like black fur with gray flecks. Stunning looking, and then needless to say, on 2 feet. So it wasn't just a regular timber wolf; it was on 2 feet.
Well, I
But
got to
he
get
was
up there and look at
incredible.
these things. Yeah, that sounds so cool.
Yeah. He was incredible and just so odd looking and with the same level of curiosity that you guys are describing, where just sort of that peeking around trees, peeking around corners, doesn't really want to get too close, but they're there. And it's just the most remarkable thing. But the beauty of them was just so striking to me, because you get watching all these shows, like Monster Quest and stuff like that. I mean, great shows, but the recreations just tend to want to lean into this horrifying image of whether it be the Fouke Monster or whatever.
Oh,
And it's like, man, it's just not that way. It's just not that way.
I have like I've worked on a lot of these shows and stuff through the years, and I've seen what it takes to recreate something, and or to make a suit. That brings another point, because I keep getting people saying, "Oh, that's somebody in a suit." Well,
Right.
I mean, you cannot make a suit look real. I mean, I know people that's paid $30,000 for a suit, and it looked like something, some gorilla guy in a suit, running around,
Yeah.
and it just, you know, you just recreations don't work. It's
No.
it like you talking about. There's nothing like seeing it in person, or taking real photographs, and that's another thing now. Everything is AI, so they want to explain everything away by being AI now, and
Yeah.
so
Yeah.
that's
First, it
something
was
else you
everything
gotta
was too
you gotta
blurry. Now
contend
it's
with. Yeah, it's too blurry. Oh, you can't see nothing. Now it's too clear. It's AI, but
yeah.
you can't get them in between either. They're going to be, oh, that's not good enough. That
You just can't
and
satisfy those.
No.
Not
No,
until you
I gave
have.
up long ago.
Yeah,
Yeah,
you
I
take
gave
them
up
out
long
trying
ago
to
putting forward
convince people.
evidence online. Yeah.
I like to take skeptics into the lake. It's great. You never know when you're going to have an experience exactly, but you can kind of judge certain times a year. If you go down there a certain way, you are going to have an experience, and it's fun watching these skeptics squirm and in the boat, and they're, how scared they get. It's
Yeah.
amazing.
Yeah.
But
Yeah, it's funny. It's funny how frightened that they tend to be if when they don't believe in something.
Yeah.
absolutely. Well, you have to get your mind around it, and they're trying to block it, and I think they just get all confused and scared at the same time. But kind of, well, I wouldn't say the first time I seen one, the one that I saw first didn't give me a reason to be scared, but it took me a while to get my mind
Yeah.
around it. It
Yeah. Yeah.
changes your worldview. It I
Yeah.
I don't disclaim or discount anything anybody says to me anymore. I think if most people are
Yeah.
honest, if somebody says something that they saw something, you know I'm going to believe it, unless I can disprove it, unless I can just see something. I've seen people
Yeah.
find tracks in the woods, and they're just certain they're tracks in the woods, but I walk up and they're like armadillo scratches. It's just that comes with experience. But
Yeah.
but I'm going to believe what people say now. I just believe anything. I think that the world is bigger than we ever thought, that we were ever taught. There's more things under heaven than we ever knew, and so
Yeah.
that makes it exciting to me. That that gives a spice to life, knowing this stuff is out there.
Mhm.
And
Oh, absolutely. I couldn't agree more. And I'm so enjoying talking to you guys. I don't want the hour to be up, so that means I want to have you back. Uh, so, because honestly, this is it's so fantastic, and it's so great to talk to people who really understand this on that sort of spiritual, emotional level. And that's one of the reasons why I love doing this show, is because I get to connect with people like you guys, and it's just so refreshing. So I just wanted to thank you both so much for being here, and I hope I can have you guys back so we can keep this conversation going.
oh yeah,
Absolutely.
I enjoyed it, and yeah, I can speak for Joe, my manager and friend, and I don't know how I would do all this stuff without him. But yeah, we'd love to come back.
Oh, that would be fantastic. And yeah, we'll make it. It's gonna happen. It's a date. Again, thank you guys for everything.
And you
And
have an
I
open
yeah.
invitation to come. You have an open invitation to come down here anytime. Just let us know. We'll show you some
Oh, that would
things.
be I would absolutely love that, and we'll eventually, once things sort of settle out here a little bit more. I just got out of the hospital in November, so
Oh,
once things settle out here a little bit more, I would love that. So it's we'll figure
oh,
it out. We'll figure it out.
okay.
Absolutely.
All right. Well, good talking to you.
I hope that this conversation opened up as many questions for you as it did for me. I know one of the most impactful pieces about this discussion for myself with the idea that not only could these beings be speaking their own language, but a language that maybe has been long lost. And I think for me it was so impactful because it delivers this into a feasible realm of reality that maybe Bigfoot and creatures like it, like the Fouke Monster, haven't really tiptoed into before. Now, where do we go from here? You know, that's really the big question. I'm really excited to see what Doyle and Joe come forward with as these investigations go on. Like me, they keep their evidence pretty close to the vest, and I understand why, because there's so much garbage right now on the internet, especially with AI. No matter what you post, everything is either AI, it's wrong, it's fake, it's this, that, the other thing. And I'm really interested to see where this direction of their investigation goes, especially the fact that Doyle lives right there. You know, he lives right there on the property, so it's very encouraging. I'm encouraged by this entire discussion. It's really exciting, and I would love to hear what everybody thinks out there. You guys, of course, can go to the Supernatural Circumstances Facebook group and give your opinions as well, or if you've had any encounters that you've wondered, hey, wait a minute, you know, could this have been a language? I'd love to hear about them. I think this is really turning a new leaf on a lot of subjects. So anyway, I have a little bit of an announcement to make. As we're moving into February, the next episode is going to be a little bit different. And I'm very excited about it because I think this is going to give you guys a new outlook into some very fascinating, sometimes terrifying, sometimes inspiring cases that I guarantee you probably have not heard about. And what I'm going to be doing is interjecting a segment within the series or the season of Supernatural Circumstances called The Real Story. And Supernatural Circumstances, The Real Story, is going to be just you and me reading through a narrative, a real case, ripped from the files of the Society of Psychical Research, Parapsychology Foundation. These aren't just stories that are pulled from nowhere. These are highly documented scientific cases of the weirdest stuff that I promise you guys you've ever heard. And I'm really, really excited to launch this and to see what you guys think of this new genre. We're not getting rid of what we're doing. We're still having guests on. We're going to be doing all of that. But I wanted to mix it up a little bit and to bring in some cases that I think you guys are going to want to talk about forever over the dinner table, or maybe not. I don't know. It depends on your family. But I'm really excited to launch this. So the next episode is going to be one of these cases, and I'm really excited to delve into it with you guys. Haven't picked the case yet, so that's still coming up. There's so many, it's so hard to choose. But I'm really excited to inspire you guys to do your own research on some of this stuff, and to give this format a bit of a test spin. And who knows? I mean, maybe it'll turn into its own show. I don't know. We'll see what happens. But I'm really looking forward to this. So that will be the next episode. And just as I say, just to see what you guys think, and we'll mix it up a little bit this year. That's the whole point of coming into this new year. It's the year of the horse according to the Chinese zodiac, and that means forward momentum and positive change and all of those things. And I think changing things up a little bit will be really, really fun. And as I say, that doesn't mean that this format is going away. It's not. We're still doing all of that, but we're gonna toss a couple of cases into the mix and have some discussion. I'm excited. I don't know about you. I'm excited. Well, anyway, thank you for joining me on this eerie expedition again, my dear listeners. And remember, there is no line between the natural and the supernatural. All is consciousness. Until next time, stay curious, friends. Supernatural Circumstances is a co-production of Entity Seeker, Paranormal Research and Teachings, and the 20th Plane. This podcast is a part of the Curious Cast podcast network. You can find out more about me, Morgan Knudsen, and book me for live appearances at entityseeker.ca. You can also email the show at supernaturalcircumstances.com.
Welcome to Survivor 50.
February 25th on Global.
We chose you to represent 25 years of the greatest adventure on television.
It's the biggest season ever.
The twist is going to open up Pandora's box. Now I see Zach Brown on Survivor.
Welcome to Survivor, Mr. Beast.
Feels a little like a high school reunion meets a massacre.
Survivor 50th season, Wednesday, February 25th on Global. Stream on Stack TV.